What's up guys, Matchstckgmr here, bringing you some more Dragon Ball related news from around the community that's either been here for a while, or just recently came up, etc. Well, I'm bringing you some information about translation that's been here for about a month now. It was like posted here in December and such. Which translation am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the one that mentions Gogeta and Vegito being equal. Now, I'm not here to debate whether or not if they are in fact equal, or if one is in fact stronger than the other. If you want to see a video where this is being done, then I highly recommend a video by Seth the Programmer. I'll be more than happy to link that video down in the description of this one for you to go check out for yourselves. Seth does an excellent job discussing the translation I'm about to discuss here, but I'm going to do a little bit more because I have a little bit more information that he doesn't quite cover, because that's not what his video is about. Not the entirety of it anyways, but anyways, go and check out his video if you're really interested in the video where they break down, you know, who's stronger, etc., and under what circumstances, and so on and so forth. But back on topic. So, the translation, I'm sure you're familiar with, was posted by Herms of Kanzenshu.com. If you're not familiar with him, then, you know, where have you been? Anyways, so, Herms posted his translation on his Twitter page December 6th of this wonderful year, and I use that term loosely. By the way, stay tuned to the end of the video to find out how nice my last 2 months have been for me. Anyways, back on topic. So Herms posts the weekly Shonen Jump image where this all comes from, saying the following: "This is it, folks, the single most clickbaity thing to ever grace the pages of Weekly Jump. The word for canon here is senshi, by the way." Anyways, so there you go, you got that. And for those wondering, I present to you the original source image. For those of you that are curious as to what it looked like, I'm not going to claim that I can read everything that was listed there, but there's something there that stood out to me a little bit that kind of looked off. But again, I'm not a native Japanese speaker, and I don't claim to be. So, Herms translates the image as follows, and I quote: "Popular characters from the DB world are added to the canon by Akira Toriyama Sensei's hand. If Vegito is born from the Potara, then fusion gives birth to Gogeta, two equally matched ultimate trump cards. What's more, in this movie, Gogeta transforms into Super Saiyan and even Super Saiyan Blue. Go to the theater to experience the stupendous power for yourselves. By the way, Gogeta doesn't appear in the original DB manga like Broly. He's a movie-only character. In other words, original author Toriyama Sensei's rewriting is an attempt at adding Broly and Gogeta to the DB canon." End quote. So, again, specifically the thing I'm concerned with is a line where it says equally matched ultimate trump cards. Again, not here to debate whether or not if they are in fact equal or not. However, before we proceed any further, I want to be abundantly clear here that obviously this is not being said from Toriyama's perspective. This is being said from a third-party perspective, as if someone's hyping up the film. So anything that is said here, whether you believe this is the correct translation or not, is besides the point, and I'm not arguing it's right or wrong, for the record. But you shouldn't take this as if it's Toriyama's word, and therefore it's end-all, be-all, you know, basically God himself saying this is fact. This is a third-party individual claiming this. Toriyama does say something on the original image, but it's off to the side somewhere and completely unrelated. So, I would not take what's said here as gospel, so to speak. But let's move on. Todd goes on to say, or rather, Herms, I call him Todd because that's how he has it on his Twitter, but I believe that's not his actual name, but we're not here to discuss that. He goes, "Oh, and if you're curious about the equally matched part, then that's," and I'm probably about to butcher it. Here we go. "Matchstckgmr gets his opportunity to pronounce a Japanese word. Will he do it correctly or not? Let us see, Jim. Izure otonaru." I probably just butchered that, ladies and gentlemen. Literally, neither inferior to the other. Alright. So, that's Herms' translation, and so on, of this, thing from Weekly Jump. Okay, interesting. And he states with it, as later, whenever, he decides to, I guess, get involved with the grand debate of Gogeta versus Vegito, he posts literally every single piece of evidence known to the Dragon Ball fandom in both English and Japanese, and probably some that we're completely unaware of, where He ends it off with, finally, the latest weekly jump has a DBS Broly promo piece describing Gogeta and Vegito as equally matched ultimate trump cards. If you're a master of origami, you might be able to twist that into something that doesn't spell Gogeta equal Vegito. Alright, so cool. Herm's just sticking with his translation, and I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not necessarily saying he's, 100% right either, but we'll get into that in a second. So I decided to go to another translator in our community that you may or may not be familiar with. If you're not, then again, where have you been? This guy's probably, I ain't gonna say he's as well known as Herms. I ain't gonna say that his skills are lesser than Herms. I'm not gonna say they're greater than Herms. But Ken does know what he's talking about. So Ken Zyro, I contacted him. I do have the ability to speak to Ken, and I cannot thank Ken enough, if he happens to be watching this video, for taking the time out of his day to help me gain a better understanding of the weekly jump source that was posted, and to take the time to talk to me and try to explain it to me to the best of his ability. Bear in mind, again, I am not a native Japanese speaker. In fact, English is obviously my first language. Go figure. Anyways, so I DM Ken and ask him, hey, does this mean equally matched as in Vegito and Gogeta are equally matched in terms of power, or does it mean equally matched as in they're both good trump cards? So Ken goes to a source that I unfortunately cannot disclose the identity of, nor can I disclose this individual's occupation. All I can say is that this guy is an extremely credible source. I know I'm basically asking you to take my word for it, and by extension, I guess, because Ken told me not to reveal this individual's identity, but Ken as well. Ken's word as well. But trust me when I say that this individual is extremely credible. So Ken takes the original source and asks this person the following. The second line, and he types it out in Japanese, it doesn't really imply equally matched power levels, does it? From what I understand, they say that Fusion and Potara are both equally dependable techniques and the strongest trump cards, with no implication on their power. Just dependable because, well, both are strong techniques. The individual that I again cannot disclose the identity or occupation of says, yep, I agree with your interpretation 100%. Reading into it anymore would be wrong. Ken, of course, then ends it off by thanking him. Or her. I don't know if it's a man or a woman. Anyways, so Ken has taken it to, again, an extremely credible source I cannot disclose the identity of, and ask, hey, this is how I interpret it. So Ken and this individual that I cannot disclose the identity of seem to agree on this translation. And Ken does know his Japanese as well, and I can assure you that the individual that I cannot disclose the identity of also knows they're Japanese. Especially in the occupation area, they should definitely know they're Japanese. But that's not all. Ken also provides me with an additional source on top of that, another one that I don't believe he told me to hide the identity of, but because I don't want them to maybe get any flack if I can help it. And please don't go and harass anybody that I've mentioned in this video. I would greatly appreciate it. This video is not being made for you to go and harass anybody I mentioned. But, moving on. So, Ken sends me another source from another individual who says, and I quote, I spoke to my old Japanese professor about the Gogeta and Vegeta scan. She says that it's only in terms of trump card. It's more like they are equally valid responses to a dire situation rather than equal in power. She says there is a distinction. And just to add to her credibility, the individual goes on to say she is a native Japanese speaker who has taught Japanese to English students for over a decade at the low to high university level. Okay, so we got three extremely credible people. We got Ken, who knows his stuff. We got the undisclosed source, and this guy. Or rather, the professor that this guy is talking about. So, okay, I'm not saying Herms is wrong. For the record, let me be abundantly clear in saying this, that Herms, if you're watching, this is not being made to discredit you in your skills. It's not being made to discredit you as a person. Obviously, you do know you're Japanese because you've posted, I don't know how many different translations over the years, not only on your Twitter, but on kanzenju.com. So, please, 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 I cannot stress this enough. Herms, if you're watching, this is not being made to discredit you. I'm not putting you on a higher pedestal than Ken, and I'm not placing Ken on a higher pedestal than you. All I'm doing is providing the information that I have at my disposal. So, obviously, for anybody here that's not Herms, but thinks I'm trying to use this as a way to discredit him, please do understand that's not the goal of this video. It is simply to present information that I have access to. And I cannot thank Ken enough for providing me his perspective on the matter and how he explains it. But let's get back to the discussion at hand. So Ken decides to go on Twitter about it, and as you can see, he talks about it a little bit, but more, I want to focus on the final tweet down there where he goes, again, equally good does not mean equal power level. They are referring to the techniques, Potara and Fusion, being equally dependable and the best trump cards. So there you go. However, we had a special guest on this one commenting on the matter. Of course, we have Geekdom 101. You should know who that is. I've mentioned him on this channel a number of times. Go and subscribe to him if you haven't already. Geekdom says, I don't know if I fully agree with this. Before the Potara, stability was its main driving force. Now with the retcon, which, by the way, I know I'm about to get off topic here. I hate doing that, but I don't think the Potara thing where they establish, oh, it actually does have a time limit, is not really a retcon. I personally don't view it as a retcon. I feel like it's them answering a question that was really unanswered back in Z. You want me to make a video on that? Request it down in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to do a discussion video on that. But back to the tweet. So he goes on to say, it loses a bit of its luster. Potara is an artifact either way. I feel like equally good does not mean, or excuse me, does mean power, because the story is all about power. Broly. Ken responds with, think of the sentence as, Fusion is just as dependable as Potara when it comes to being the ultimate trump card. When they're referring to power, they specifically mention power. The word used here simply means dependable, competent, efficient, qualified. Thank you, Ken, for explaining that further, because unfortunately he was unable to explain it to me to this degree in our private conversation. So, Geekdom finally ends out the conversation here with, yeah, but it's weird considering the time limit for Potara appears to be longer. So, alright. So, I've presented this information to all of you that are watching this video. Now, you may be asking, well, who's right? Who's wrong? And, unfortunately, I don't got an answer for you. I'm simply providing information as I have it. You know, I don't know Japanese. I'm unable to contact Herms on a personal level like I can Ken, so I can't get Herms to maybe explain it, you know, his perspective of things any better. I did ask Ken, like, how could someone looking essentially at the same piece of paper you are get a completely different interpretation? Maybe I'm just thinking about this from an English speaker's perspective, but I mean, if I read something in English that says, you know, the sky is blue, I don't think I can really misinterpret that, but I guess in Japanese you can interpret things 1,000 different ways, for all I know. But, again, at the end of the day, who's right, who's wrong, I don't know. But y'all now have the information at hand to come to an educated decision yourselves. Please don't go and attack Ken if you think he's wrong, and please don't go and attack Herms if you think he is wrong. Just take the information you have and use it to educate yourselves. Most importantly, I think something I want y'all to take away from this is don't be afraid to question your sources. Yes, Herms does know what he's talking about, but I mean, even I noticed that line looked kind of weird to me. I seen the original, you know, source. So, again, I don't speak Japanese, but I know a little bit. Not up to where I can brag necessarily, but I looked at it, I'm like, I don't think that's what that means, but I could be wrong. And that's why I went to Ken. And Ken, of course, came to a completely different conclusion, more along the lines of what I thought it meant. So, there you go. So again, don't go and attack these people, and, you know, just use the knowledge you have at your disposal here. And again, at the end of the day, Toriyama wasn't the one that said that information, so don't take it as gospel. I mean, I can't really put it any clearer than this. I mean, clearly it's not Toriyama because the person talking about Toriyama from a third-person perspective and stuff. Toriyama doesn't refer to himself in the first person. He doesn't say, Toriyama Sensei, Akira Toriyama Sensei's hand. He doesn't talk like that. He's never talked like that in any interview to my memory. I don't think he's ever done it in a joking manner, but I digress. So, that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned to the end where I'll talk about, you know, where I've been and what kind of month or two I've had here. What's up, guys? So, if you stay tuned to the end of the video, thank you guys. I appreciate it. So, to kind of summarize what I've been dealing with. So, first of all, I live in an area that was affected by Hurricane Michael. No, I'm not here to ask you guys for money. It's just to explain my situation, okay? So, essentially, yeah, I got hit by it. Didn't have internet for a while, so I couldn't upload for a while. In fact, I couldn't upload for about 2 months. 1 week and 1 day, I believe, to the T. And I could be a little, just a smidge off on that. So, alright, well, where were you before the hurricane hit, you may be asking, for those of you that have stayed subscribed to me, and I cannot thank you all enough if you did decide to stay subscribed to my channel. Well, short version is, I'm an adult, I have responsibilities, and I have a job I need to go to. I don't make money off my channel, and that was never the goal of this. This is really just a hobby for me that I do enjoy. I do love talking about Dragon Ball. In fact, at my job, I often talk about Dragon Ball with my coworkers, so if I'm not doing it here on YouTube, then I can promise you I'm doing it at work in the kitchen where I work at. But anyways, so I guess what I've got to say, all I got to say there is, I'm just an adult and I have responsibilities, folks. But I am going to try to upload a little bit more often than I used to. My job's being a little bit more lenient, so maybe I can get some more videos out. I do have a lot in the pipeline that I want to put out. I do have a lot of ideas that I have just randomly typed up on my computer that I want to do. I just haven't had an opportunity to either type up a script or gather all the information I need for it. So all I can say is thank you guys for remaining subscribed to me all this time. And that's really all I got to say, guys. So thank you all. Have a great day, and enjoy what you have. Peace. Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z/Kai, Dragon Ball GT, and Dragon Ball Super are all owned by Fuji TV, Toei Animation, Funimation, and Akira Toriyama. I do not claim to own any of these. The video and any images that appear were used under fair use.